So today we are very honored can have our very good friend and NLP guru, Dr. Michael Hall, to join us today, and it's really an honor. And thank you, Michael.
Well, it's my pleasure.
So last year, I still remember that you interviewed me in your program, and it's like we swapped the role this time. So it's quite funny. I would say that. So can you tell us something about yourself? So what is your background?
Well, my background was in psychology. So I had run a psychology practice for many years before I discovered NLP and added that to my practice of psychotherapy.
So how would you see that when you were a psychologist and you're getting into NLP? So how do you feel about that?
Well, I started reading bits and pieces about NLP around 1985, 86, and I got interested in 86 when someone told me that there was a way to structurally heal a phobia in just a session or two, just very, very quickly, and I couldn't comprehend it. And so when they challenged me about it, I went and found a book, and that led me into the field of NLP.
So is it the reason why you wrote so many books about NLP? Because you couldn't find it at the very beginning?
Well, the reason I write is because I learn by writing. And it's my learning strategy. So I write for me first, and then if I can make it clear to me, it seems like other people find it useful and clear for them.
So how many books you wrote up to now?
I've just finished my 44th.
Wow, 44. Yeah. So what is the latest one? Which one is the latest one?
The one that's at the printers right now being printed is Benchmarking Intangibles. It's in the coaching series, and it's on being able to measure leadership, respect, anything that's intangible, to measure listening, supporting, questioning. So it's a structure of how we bring the benchmarking process that has taken assembly lines and best practices in businesses to a whole new level of quality, and now we're taking it inside to the intangibles. The other book I'm working on it with Shelley Rose Chevet, and Shelley and I are putting together a book called Innovations in NLP Volume 1. And we have 16 contributors, the who's who of NLP, from Robert Dills to Ian McDermott to Shelley and myself to Richard Bolstad. We got 16 contributors presenting innovations that have occurred in the last 20 years.
Wow.
And we plan a series of books every 2 or 3 years on innovations in NLP.
Wow, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So is it your first time to be in Hong Kong?
No, been here quite a number of times.
Quite a number of times.
I
so
think
how
this
do
is
you
the
see?
5th or 6th year.
Wow, that's quite a lot. So do you like Hong Kong?
Yeah, it's a fascinating city. It's a busy city. A lot of traffic here.
Yes, yes, and a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yes.
It's a dynamic city. It's obviously one of the world capital cities, and so it's really always fascinating to be here.
So do you see that, as I know you train people all over the world, and could you tell us, is there any difference between you do the training in China and Hong Kong and also in the Western cities or culture?
Well, there's always differences, and the different cultures will lead to some of those differences. There's a big difference between Hong Kong and China.
Yeah. Can you tell me more?
Hong Kong people in trainings tend to be quiet and very respectful and waiting to be called upon or whatever. In China, we've got to hold them down because they're ready to explode with questions and wanting to talk, wanting to do it, wanting to be a part of it. So it's quite a contrast, really.
That's really a whole different experience.
Yeah.
So can you share some of your perspective about NLP? So our program is called NLP Cafe, and many audience of us, they don't really understand NLP. Could you put into a simple way to explain what NLP is?
NLP is a mind-body communication. So it's communication, and it's about linguistics, so it's about language, it's about how we talk, but it's more. It's about what the language does to our bodies. That language is a function of our nervous system, because we create it in our brain, in our nervous system, and the words you say will send messages to the body. and as it sends messages to the body, it'll cause you to feel things. And when you do higher level linguistics, when you have beliefs and things like that, it becomes a command to the nervous system, which explains why we have to be careful what we believe, because whatever you believe will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and your body is designed to try to actualize that belief. So if you believe you can't learn, your body, your nervous system, your eyes, your mind, your memory will try to fulfill that command. If you believe you can, it'll activate what potentials are there for learning. So we have to be very careful. NLP is a neuro-linguistic, neural-semantic description of how those processes work.
So is it the reason why you developed NS, neurosemantic, years ago? You find that there are highly correlated between there is highly correlated between body and the mind?
Well, NLP does that. NLP is a systems model, so it really looks at us humans systemically as it's not just our thoughts, it's not our thoughts in contrast to our emotions, it's our thoughts, emotions in our bodies, inside of context. So it's all, NLP is a systems model. NLP began by modeling how we represent things. So the representational systems. And the genius of NLP and what Bandler Grinder did when they discovered it was they identified the languages of the mind. And the languages of the mind gives you control knobs. Because the languages of the mind come down to the senses. Because in the mind, you have pictures and sounds and sensations, and then you have words. And that gives us control knobs. I can make my pictures brighter or dimmer, closer or further. I can take my sounds and create different tones and volumes. And this is how I think. But what NLP did not have, and what I was fortunate enough to contribute to the model, was we don't just think representationally. Because if you create a picture in your mind of some desirable outcome, you not only think that, but then you have second thoughts. You'll have thoughts about that. Can I do it or can I not? And then you'll have third thoughts. You'll have thoughts about, can I do it or not? Why am I always questioning myself? Then you have fourth thought. You have a self-reflexive consciousness. So whatever you're thinking and feeling, you'll be thinking and feeling about that. And so the meta-states model, which was my first contribution, is how that referential, that self-reflexive system works. Because if I talk with you and you're wanting to make a change, wanting to be more of who you can be, and all I have are your first thoughts, I don't know you very well. Because there's thoughts in the back of your mind. And even when you're speaking, your brain is so fast, you're thinking about the thoughts you're just having and presenting, and sometimes 2 and 3 levels up. So what I contributed and what started neurosemantics was the layers of meanings, the layers of thoughts, and how to get to those, because those will be more important and more of a leverage point for change and development than the first thoughts.
So you've mentioned about meanings, and I remember in our class you mentioned a lot about meanings. So how meanings is why meaning is so important for us in our changing? Can you explain more?
Well, first is if something's not meaningful, then it's boring, it's trivial, it's insignificant, it's worthless, it's empty. So we humans we create meaning. Meaning doesn't exist outside of us. So that's why we can't bring a hunk of meaning and put on this table and weigh it, because it only exists inside a human being's thinking system, their brain and body. So meanings can be healthy and they can be sick-producing, toxic. And so,
can you give us some example?
Well, if someone says I'm worthless, if someone says I'll never amount to anything, I would consider those toxic meanings.
Something I cannot do it.
And it's going to make them sick. it's going to make them sick, so they won't be able to hope and dream and believe in themselves and make things happen. It's toxic meanings. And if a person creates toxic meanings, their whole system is going to get sick. And so we have to find the meanings, detect them, and then suspend those that are not healthy, and then build and create really inspiring meanings. And so the levels of meanings about your work, about your exercise, about your relationships, about your future, about 100,000 different things. And that's what we address in neurosemantics and in NLP.
So the very important question for our self-coaching is, what is the meaning of something? So that will help us a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So you find that meaning. The word meaning means to hold in mind. So whatever you're holding in mind, whatever you're, whether it's good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, whatever you hold in mind is the meaning. And so some people they don't know that the things they're holding in mind, their resentments, their hatreds, their unhappinesses, they hold it in mind. They keep thinking about it again and again, and it's going to make them sick.
I see. So this is also can explain why some people, they are more successful, and some of them they are not.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. As I know, you brought NS into Hong Kong a few years ago, and you start some program. It's called Coaching Essential, APG. APG stands for
Accessing Personal Genius.
Accessing Personal Genius, and also a program called Meta Coaching. Can you explain something to our audience? How this program or how this journey go with them?
Well, when the field of coaching began to emerge in 1992 with Thomas Leonard and became a movement in businesses and business leaders and managers wanted to use coaching to replace command and control, to help people become self-managing teams, for people to take responsibility, for people to feel engaged inside of businesses. Coaching became a tool, and the field of NLP began to apply the NLP things to coaching around 1997. So Coaching Essentials is just the most essential facets of the communication model of NLP as applied to coaching. Accessing Personal Genius is metastates, the self-reflexive model applied to coaching. And so we call those modules 1 and 2, so that of the 7 models we use in meta coaching, those are the first 2. And these models helps a coach to know what to do, when to do it, how to choose what person to work with, who to do it with, how to do the different processes, and to understand why they're doing whatever they're doing. So meta coaching has 7 models to address the 7 features of what coaching is, and this is our system. It enables a coach to be very systematic, very methodical, and aware of what they're doing.
I see. So so the NS journey is quite different from NLP journey, because from my understanding, it's help you to be a coach, or rather than just being an NLP practitioner. Is it the difference between?
In neurosemantics, we teach the full NLP practitioner course, and we teach the full master practitioner course. So all of NLP we embrace and we teach it. The difference is that we teach it at a higher ethical level. So there are people who teach NLP and I think they misuse it, and they teach people how to manipulate. Well, we don't do that. The neurosemantic version of NLP is highly ethical and professional. We hold a standard, and we hold our people to a standard, and we teach all of the NLP, and we teach how to use it in an ethical way, and we teach it so that we become the kind of people, we apply to self, the kind of people who are living the things we're talking about, and not just doing it to someone. So one of our principles is, if you can't do it with yourself, you're not ready to do any of this technology with someone else.